What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Demon's Souls on the PS5 not having ray tracing. Now, this has seemingly, I've made these videos actually a couple times at this point. The internet, I don't know if you guys know this, the internet is a pretty hostile place sometimes. The internet kind of gets broken quite often depending on news stories that happens or, fanboy wars or whatever. But this is a case where, yeah, I think people are honestly kind of losing their minds. And maybe I'm reading the room wrong. You guys can let me know in the comments. But people are kind of losing their minds over nothing. Now, maybe it's not even losing their minds. I feel like this is a prime opportunity for those that have kind of hated on PlayStation. And I mean kind of hate to hate. See, I've always taken the approach of I own all of them. I'm going to own all of them. You could call me more of a PlayStation-centric person, a PlayStation-centric channel. That's okay. That's fine. I guess that would kind of be right. But I'm there for the games, and I'm going to point out flaws and weaknesses and good things about any company, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, EA, Ubisoft, anybody. I'm willing to call them out on good and bad. I think that kind of is what makes me different from a lot of other people. But when we see this kind of brings out the more, I feel like console. This is a good opportunity, I think, for a good old-fashioned console war, because the thing that I've at least seen in, I guess, maybe small circles is people going after Sony saying, oh, look, like ray tracing is so good, and yet it's not even done on that game. Now, is that necessarily the greatest look in the world? No, but here's the deal. Ray tracing is up to the developer. It's not up to PlayStation. PlayStation can't say to make a game on the PS5, you must have ray tracing, and this goes really to the discussion I've had on the DualSense controller, to what I've had on free upgrades, right? Backwards compatibility, stuff like that. I mean, it's up to the makers. Now, I guess not necessarily backwards compatibility. Remember, back in July, any game that was like registered to be made a game, you need to have it compatible for at least the PS. Like, you can't just have it for PS4. It's also got to be available for PS5. So those are steps that obviously Sony can go and say, okay, I mean, look, you gotta support the consoles, right? You can't come out and only be on one. If you come out in like 2 years, like we have to push you on PS5. We can't push you on PS4 if you release in like 2022, right? So you have those things, but free upgrades, yeah, it can make Sony, it can make Microsoft look bad. Ultimately, it is not their call which games get free upgrades. I mean, it is for their own games, but not third parties, not anybody that's not owned by them. That's up to them. It's up to them to do a lot of different things, right? And for ray tracing, and like I've said, for the DualSense controller, let's talk about the DualSense really, really quickly. Again, because it's very comparable. That's something that I've said, hey, enormous potential. I love it. So many people have said, like, this is the most next-gen thing about next-gen, is this controller, okay? So it's very special. Is every game under the sun going to take advantage of it? No. Is it going to eventually become a situation like the DualShock where they use it for one or two pretty easy things, pretty universal things, but nobody really deep dives into it? Yeah, that could very well happen. That would suck. I would really actually hate. I would go so far to say I would hate that, but I think that's what's probably going to happen with most games. Not all. In fact, again, I think Sony first-party games, the exclusives, should take advantage of the DualSense. And when we go to ray tracing, I mean, same thing. Ray tracing is there. It's available. Developers will use it. I'm sure they'll use it over time. And I think eventually, unlike the DualSense I think will be a spotty, like, hit or miss thing. Like, some will do it, some won't do it as time goes on. The ray tracing, just better everything in the game in terms of like looks, in terms of all that kind of stuff. That'll, I think, get more consistent as we go on. It's not the end of the world that Demon's Souls doesn't have ray tracing. In my opinion, it's not a make or break thing. Even if you want to look at it at a negative point of view, and I have talked about this, Miles Morales. Now, I'm not a programmer. I'm not into that kind of stuff. I know a little bit about, like, I've read stuff, right? But I wouldn't call myself an expert. But if you care about my opinion, what I've seen on Miles, and if you look, Miles and Spider-Man in general, they'll have ray tracing, but they actually have to cut short the frames per second. They have to cut it at 30 instead of 60, where they could do 60, and a lot of things will run better and stuff like that. They can't do both of them at the same time, though. So will we eventually get to where we can? Sure, but as of right now, honestly, to do so even if you want to go like anti-ray tracing, to do ray tracing, it's amazing. it does have flaws. Not everybody's on board with it, and you have to hold other things back if you want to do ray tracing, at least right now. Now, when the next Unreal Engine comes out, early next year, again, I'm sure things are going to happen where it'll make it easier. But point is, number one, it's not a deal breaker. It shouldn't get people all that upset. Number two, you could even think of it maybe as like a detriment where it's actually going to hurt your game a little bit because you kind of have to sacrifice other things right now. And actually, number three, really the biggest of all of them, is why are people so upset about the ray tracing because I've seen people like poke fun, like, oh, next gen, and the whole focus on ray tracing, and then you don't have it. But why is everybody so upset? Have you seen Demons? Like, are you watching the screen right now? No, I'm not saying you guys, aren't in support, but the people that are so against it, ideally they've seen, hopefully, right? Because I don't really think you should have an opinion on, if ray tracing is good or bad for Demon Souls. If you haven't seen what Demon Souls looks like yet, if you look at Demon Souls, it looks outstanding. I mean, does it need ray tracing? No, it doesn't need ray tracing. Could it have it? Could it improve it even more? Sure, but does it need it? No, it looks actually like I've gone on record. I will continue going on record. Look, Miles is a very safe bet to be very good. Could it be Game of the Year? Sure. Could it be a really amazing game overall? Sure. I think it's going to be like high up there. But if there's one game that will push the PS5 and show people early on both consoles, if there's a game that will show what next generation can do, it's not Spider-Man Remastered. I get the ray tracing. It's not Miles. I get the ray tracing. But it's not. They were not built for the ground up for PS5. Was Demon Souls? You could argue it wasn't, but it was definitely made more for the PS5 than Miles and Spider-Man. And you look at Xbox, the Medium maybe is their biggest one, right? Not made, that's not something I think is really going to push things. This game, Demon Souls, is the game. That's why I'm so excited for it, besides the fact that I like Demon Souls in the first place. But this is the game that'll show us as early as we can what next gen is capable of doing. I think Astro's Playroom will show us, even maybe Sackboy, A Big Adventure. Those will show us what the DualSense can do very early on. But Demon Souls, until we get, and like I've said, I don't even know if Horizon will be able to show what next gen can do because it's on both. I think you really need a next gen only game. Ratchet and Clank could be another example. God of War Ragnarok could be another example. So those are games that are going to show off what the PS5 can do. They don't need ray tracing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you need ray tracing to be amazing, and like if Miles and Spider-Man didn't have it, like that would be some massive thing. No, I think it's up to the developer. It's not really something to get mad about. It's not. So I never thought Demon Souls had ray tracing. They never mentioned it, so I just never even thought about it. And I've literally never looked to it as a negative, not one time. I just really didn't care. So again, if you're disappointed in it, I really don't think you should be. I think it's going to be an amazing game. And you know what the best part is? We get it in literally, 9 days from now? That's absolutely incredible. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed, have the bell icon turned on. I do a brand new video every single day on this channel. And my God, guys, is it going to get pretty crazy when we start to enter next week, right? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.